In Dallas ISD, we're celebrating Asian American Pacific Islanders Heritage Month. We visited the Fort Worth Botanic Gardens and got to see the Goisagi Taiko Ensemble perform in front of a large audience, and got to chat with one of the members of the group.
Hi, I'm Chris Wong. I'm from Denton, Texas. My parents are from Malaysia, and they're Malaysian Chinese, and I'm proud to be an Asian American. Obviously my parents I'm Asian, specifically Asian American. I identify less, I think, with the actual country itself, Malaysia, because I grew up there. Maybe I was only there for about 3 years. I've actually spent most of my life here in Texas. So a lot of my cultural identity comes from this area, from the Asian community here, and this kind of subculture that we have when you were born as an Asian in America. It's a little different than being an immigrant from a different country as well. So when I first started playing, I was actually in high school. So I've been playing, oh my God, almost like a decade by now. I actually saw Kiari, which is the other taiko group here in town, play at a festival, and I believe it was the Japanese Fall Festival for Dallas. And they were playing these huge drums, and I love music. I've been playing music since I was a kid. I'd never seen drums like that. When I saw them play, I was like, I want to play those drums, and I just decided to join. And they welcomed me with open arms. I think that's something that's really cool about being an Asian American here in the US is that a lot of these groups, like, it doesn't matter, there's no walls, right? You just go. I'm Chinese and I'm playing traditional Japanese taiko, and I've learned a lot about their culture, and I appreciate those things about that culture, and that's something that was really valuable to me, especially my time in there, learning so much about how in Japanese culture. I actually know so much more about Japanese culture, traditional Japanese culture, what it's like to be Japanese, what it's like to be Japanese working here in America, what it's like for their kids here, and how they experience Japanese American life here. It's different than my own experience, and those things are very important for me to kind of learn. And I really love that experience.
What motivates you as an Asian American?
Well, I'm an engineer, and we all know the tropes, when you're an Asian, you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. So I would definitely say, I think naturally, though, I always wanted to be an engineer, even without those stereotypes. In terms of career and stuff, I would say our parents came here in search of a better life, and a lot of that, career-wise, you want to pay that back to them. Yes, for career-wise, that definitely motivates me, wanting to provide for my family later on. In terms of culture, there's so much diversity in culture here, and being a part of something that is wholly yours, that is definitely very motivating. Like when you go down to the Asian areas in town, like K-Town or in Chinatown, or the various different Chinatowns in all the different cities. They all have their own subcultures, and they all have, like in Dallas versus Chicago versus New York, San Francisco. We're all Asian American, but we all exhibit our cultural values slightly differently. And I think that's something that we should celebrate. Just where we come from in different places, but we still have this connection with each other.
What are some cultural customs and traditions that you feel are important to you?
I would say probably a culture around food, for sure. Asians are, in general, it doesn't matter what kind of Asian you are, you're very connected to your food. We're very proud of our food, and we like to, doesn't matter what kind of Asian you are, you should be proud of your region of food and celebrate them and celebrate others as well. I think that's something that we tend to do very well in the Asian American community, especially. We're all, I'm Chinese, Malaysian Chinese, right? But I love all kinds of Asian food. We're very proud and make a lot of distinctions between them. We don't mush them all together into one like culture. It's very distinct from each other. Filipino food is distinct. It has its own history. Korean food has its own history. We should celebrate those things. I think that's really important, and it's something that probably will never die in the Asian American community. And a lot of our connections with our family as well, how we grow up, how we value family in Asian cultures, is also, I think, something that also probably never change, and that we shouldn't change.
How would you like others to perceive or view your cultural values in our society today?
I think that something that happens a lot in media, especially when we have like outsiders to our culture look at our culture, they tend to put it all together into one unit. These are like Asian Americans, and they all have the same. They make it like the same thing. I think that I would like people to really take a look at the nuances that we have. You know, we're all Asian American, and yeah, we identify as Asian American. We come from different regions and different cultures, and it's much more nuanced, and those things should be celebrated as well, and not kind of glossed over. I think that media tends to do that. I would like to see more people celebrate, like, you know, Filipino food versus Cambodian food. What are the differences between those? And a lot of people will say, oh, it's all Southeast Asian food, but they're all very different from each other, slightly different culture, and I think that's missed a lot, and it's really only celebrated inside the Asian American culture. I would like other people outside of it to be able to come and see like the depth that we have in our culture.
Are there any specific customs that you would like us to better understand?
I think a lot of the family dynamics are very difficult for even the members of our own community to understand. There are definitely a lot of differences in how Asian Americans or Asians tend to, depending on the region you're from, obviously, tend to handle family. That's different from Western approaches. That's something that is like, probably there needs to be a lot more communication, a lot more representation on how that is viewed in the media as well, or even just talked about. I think that's something that most people tend to try to struggle to explain. Especially I have personally struggled to explain how a lot of the family dynamics works.
How would you describe the entertainment and arts as an Asian American?
Vibrant. There's so many groups out there. Here, even in Dallas, you know, we have Chinese line dancers here. We have Okinawa dancers here, Japanese Okinawa dancers. We have K-pop groups. You know, it's so diverse here. Well, obviously, we are a taiko group. We don't play traditional taiko. We definitely play, we have elements of rock and jazz implemented into ours. I think that here, especially in the U.S., it's so diverse. Just because we're this huge pot of different cultures, and everyone is kind of like in this space, we can contribute to each other. We started originally our two, then four original members started as part of a traditional group here in Dallas called Kiari. They're great. You should check them out too. Before we decided to split off we wanted to become kind of a performing group, an ensemble, a band that we put out CDs and perform at concerts and venues. That was kind of our original intention. So we kind of split off and started focusing very heavily on that kind of stuff. So we play lots of different types of drums. We integrate cymbals, and which is not something you traditionally see in traditional taiko, and really avant-garde kind of drumming into our group. there's so much history that we carry as a culture, in our food, in our performing arts, in the way we carry ourselves forward. I think that's something to be proud of. Like, you as a person, as an Asian American, you're carrying all of these legacies forward with you, even if you're not traditionally like following those cultures. Maybe you're not a very traditional Asian. Maybe you have developed into this kind of diverse compilation of all these cultures here. You're still carrying all that history with you, because when you're Asian American and you're living in a town that has as many Asian cultures as they can fit in one space. You pick up all those things, and you're carrying all of those aspects with you when you go to somewhere else, and that's something to be proud of. I think just the fact that anywhere you go, you're Asian American, you kind of you're leaving your mark on history that way.
Thanks for joining us for this interview spotlight. Let's continue to celebrate Asian American Pacific Islanders Heritage Month here in Dallas ISD.